Today I wanted to talk about how to use thinkscript to scan for indicators trading above or below a specific threshold. But before we do that, I've got to hit some disclosure items first. Information here is for general information purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. The paper money software application that we'll be using is for educational purposes only as well. Some additional points here. Investing in stocks does involve risk, including loss of principal. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. And there's no guarantee that the execution of a stop order will be at or near the stop price. Now, having said that, I want to turn over into our charts first. With a lot of traders, they may be looking for different break above different points for different indicators, thresholds, folks. One of those could be overbought or oversold zones. Let's say, for example, on the RSI, which I've got listed down here. In fact, let me just pull that up just a little bit. There is that RSI. You'll notice that, yeah, above 70 traditionally, below 30 are those overbought, oversold ranges. One of those oversold ranges, though, that we're looking at here is below 30. And so an investor saying that I want to know when the price of a stock perhaps maybe moving into the future, but right now it is breaking above a particular threshold on the RSI. Let's say it is 30. And so in other words, there is a cross that occurs, meaning that it was below 30 and now above 30. Below 30, above 30, that action I want to know. But I also want to know this across a broad range of stocks, and I want to know it very quickly so I can check and see what's been happening today or over the last 2 or 3 days. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and take us right into the scan tab so we can orchestrate this setup. First thing I want to do, again, we're in the scan tab up top. Next thing, right over here, we want to be in the stock hacker. Okay? From there, what we want to do next is what we want to scan in. We want to set this up into the S&P 500. I've got that set up here, and I just pulled up this within the public folder, and right there we have several selections to make in our public folders, but yeah, S&P 500 I want to look at. So next thing I want to do is go to the add filter over on the right. It's going to be a study filter where we can tap into some of the thinkscript coding. And what first thing I want to do is click on the little pencil there to the right of D, daily. We'll pull this up and I'll show you what that looks like. So that is the ADX crossover. Now I want to delete that initially. We are going to use, though, the condition wizard to help us build this code. And then we can actually look at the code afterwards, and I can show you what that looks like. But to add that condition, all we're going to state are those conditions that we're after. In fact, we want to be looking at the study. So we always want to start off with the study first when it's breaking above or below a threshold. So this is going to be the RSI. You can either type that in or use the scroll bar to find those in alphabetical order, but there is our RSI right there. Now, folks, you can adjust the different inputs as well. These inputs that I'm using, these are defaults that are part of the Wilder RSI. Now, over here, very important, we're going to be looking at crosses above in this case. Now, if it was going above 70 and below, if it was overbought going into the back down below the overbought range, we'd be using crosses below. But in this case, it is crosses above, implying that we are, the 30 line on that RSI, we are below. You have to be below, and then above for this criteria to matter, to work, okay? So that is the impact that's happening right there. It's that cross above. It's totally different from greater than. I could say greater than, and both of these could be true, but greater than could imply that it could be, it's 60, it could have been above 60, it could be at that level for the past month or two. This is very specific and sets up that threshold that we're after next. Okay, so crosses above. Next thing we need to select is the value. This highlights the threshold for that indicator. So the value would just be punched in right here into the box, very top here, and we're just going to say 30. So crossing above that oversold RSI range. Now, key point is, when do we want this to occur? If we have one bar, it's occurring today. Okay, by today's movement. In fact, we're closing above it today. We're crossing above it today. Even if there's time left in the market, it would still show us a list of these companies that met that criteria. In other words, it doesn't have to be the close of today. If we said 2 days, it would have been within the last 2 days. 3 days, 3 days, but it's within that time frame. So 1, 2, up to 3 days, for example. 1 to 3 days, 1 to 5 days, whatever the case might be. I'm just going to say 1 to 2 for now. Within the last couple of days, we've seen this. It's as simple as this. Just click Save. Now, that is the code right there. If you are familiar with thinkscript code, you can punch that in here. But this is just a great way that anybody that doesn't understand the code, but maybe even wants to learn the code or not, you can create the code quickly within thinkscript. Now, a quick note on thinkscript. The codes aren't guaranteed for timeliness or accuracy, but as long as the data that's flowing through the platform is correct, and we have good data here, in my experience, for sure, then it's just going to mathematically do what it's asked to do here. Okay, so let's go ahead and click OK. I'm going to click on now. Last thing we need to hit is that green scan button. S&P 500 right there. There it is, that fast, just a couple of seconds. It went through roughly 500 companies, pulled out right here 16 of 16. That fast, breaking above that lower oversold zone. It's making this move above that RSI 30, the RSI, Relative Strength Index 30, over the last, 2 bars within that time frame. So a very timely response, and would take us a substantial amount of time if we were just scanning through the S&P 500 daily to find this, or even a bigger sized index. So a huge, huge time saver here for something that might be very specific to what you're after. Let me go ahead and pull up one of these and I'll just highlight for you what this looks like. So really quick, we could just take any of these right here. There is, Intuit, INTU is an example. INTU, the symbol, just taking a look at it. Folks, did it break above that 30 over the last 2 days? As a matter of fact, it did. And you know what? The 2 days was important. If we were just doing 1 day, we might not have caught this. So if you see right down there, actually, I guess we could have. You can look over here too and just see what you got on this bar right there. Okay, so the last 2 days. So we were there. Actually, it crossed that day. So it would have been 2 days. Yeah, with the 2 days, we would have saw this. Now, with just 1 day, that was yesterday, we wouldn't have seen it because it would have had to have been within that day. Today, day 2, it's looking back within 1 to 2 days. You see the importance of that? You might still be finding perhaps a potential bottom if you give it more of a range over here. But it did work because we put that 2-day in there. If we just ran, I'll go back to it now, clicking back on that pencil so I can pull this back up and show it to you. I'll go to edit now to change it. If we just had 1 in here, we would not have found it. Now, there are some that we missed that happened 3 days ago, and we can pick up on those by just hitting 3 and hitting save. And now we're going to get a larger list when we go through and scan through this, okay? Now, the great thing about this is we can find thresholds and threshold values off a whole basket of indicators within here, not just the RSI. We can come over here. I can pull up edit. Now that I've got this set up, remember, I probably want to adjust what I've got over here to a particular indicator, but I could use something like, say, for example, I'm going to go back to study again now and just change it this quickly. ADX. A lot of times traders will look at areas or levels on the ADX that might mean to them non-trending versus trending, and then they could come over here and put those levels, those values in over here too. Okay, so a lot of flexibility here, folks, and just a super quick way to get this information, these data points at your fingertips. Now, I did want to highlight too that on that ADX, this was a class I actually did teach, and encourage you guys to follow us on Trader Talks if you're not already on board. Love to have you on board. We have over 180,000 subscribers already. Just go on YouTube and just Trader Talks. But if you go into playlists right over here, okay, you can actually click on that. Gives us a list of a number of great classes that our coaches have taught. But if you scroll down to the bottom, just to be really specific with what we just went over, this beyond the TTM squeeze, I do talk about that ADX indicator as well and how that would work in volatile conditions or price compression specifically. So on that note, folks, I hope this was valuable, informative for you. Great to be with you.